deny.
Yes.
That way, people would have, redress of grievances. And I think speedy disposition of cases is a must so that the people's confidence in the justice system will be restored.
So, and if you will be the next Chief Justice, how are you going to do that? To speed up the disposition of cases or to declare the dockets of the courts nationwide?
Well, first of all, I would see to it that the vacancies would be filled up.
Yes.
Secondly, I think that we have to strengthen the research staff. We should employ more researchers. And if possible, we employ interns.
Interns?
Yes. So that there will be additional bodies that will do research, speed up the work. And I think we should encourage shorter decisions. For instance, if the Supreme Court thinks that the decision which is under appeal from the Court of Appeals is sound, then the Supreme Court's decision should merely say that we adopt by reference the facts and the findings of law of the Court of Appeals, and then, a one-pager decision would be, one-page decision would be all right, and in compliance substantially with the Constitution of the Philippines.
Okay. Attorney Morales, considering your experience, there's no doubt that you possess the management skills required in running the judiciary. However, to effectively discharge your function as the Chief Executive Officer of the judiciary and lead the court, you must do it with moral ascendancy. And you can only have moral ascendancy if you have the respect, the trust, and confidence of all the associate justices working with you. Attorney Morales, can you tell us how you intend to get the respect, the trust, and confidence of the incumbent justices, most of whom are older than you, not only in age, but in terms of length of service in the judiciary?
I am a consensus builder.
Yes.
I would like to reach out with my colleagues at the Supreme Court and appeal to their sense of patriotism, seek their cooperation in the interest of country and people. And with respect to seniority, I think that seniority is not always observed in the Supreme Court,
Yes.
as borne out by the fact that two younger justices are candidates for the position. And also, the acting chief has come up with a declaration in an interview that he would respect the decision of the President of the Philippines, whether the appointee would be an insider or outsider.
Okay. So, during the impeachment trial of the former Chief Justice, the moral fitness of a candidate for that position was raised. Now, can you tell us your perception of moral fitness as a criteria in selecting the next Chief Justice?
Moral fitness is number one in my list. Honesty is the best policy. Without integrity, on the part of the Chief Justice, people would not repose trust and confidence in the court system.
Okay, let's go to another point. It is given that the two political branches of government, namely the executive and the legislative, have the primary responsibility of promoting the economic well-being of the country. In one of his lectures, a former Chief Justice stated that the judiciary has a similar duty to nurture prosperity and alleviate poverty in our country. Do you agree, Attorney Morales?
To some extent, although on matters dealing with the economics,
Yeah.
I would probably exhibit judicial restraint.
Okay. So how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that?
If a case is brought before the Supreme Court and it concerns economic policies, then I would probably exhibit judicial restraint in that I would uphold and sustain the policies promulgated by the executive or the legislative branch.
Okay, I'm sure you're aware of that provision in the new constitution that it is not only the power but the duty of the court to strike down acts of any branch or instrumentality of government committed in grave abuse of discretion.
Yes, ma'am.
So, do you want to comment on that in relation to your previous answer?
Well, that actually expanded judicial review,
Yes.
and that eroded somewhat the political question doctrine, and that answers the criticism founded on the doctrine of counter-majoritarian. Because whenever the Supreme Court strikes down as unlawful or unconstitutional a legislative or executive act, the Supreme Court is said to be counter-majoritarian, because those acts are acts of the political branches of government that have been elected by the majority of the people. But again, that loses sight of the fact that the Supreme Court is granted by the people under the Constitution to determine whether there has been a grave abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excessive jurisdiction by any instrumentality of government.
Yes. Okay. Now, if you will be fortunate to be nominated and appointed as the next Chief Justice of our country, will you kindly tell us your top 3 priorities upon assumption of office?
I'm going to fill up the vacancies because judiciary is undermanned. Second, I would work for the upward adjustment of salaries to prevent or to stem the brain drain in the judiciary, because we cannot attract the bright people because the salaries in the private sector are very high compared to that in the judiciary. Then I would work for the increase in the budgetary allocation of the judiciary.
Okay, Attorney Morales, this will be my last question in connection with your answer. We all know that a Chief Justice is both a jurist and the Chief Executive Officer of the Judiciary. As a jurist, a Chief Justice is expected not only to be actually independent, but must be perceived as independent at all times. However, as a CEO, he has to deal with officials from the other 2 branches of government and maintain a harmonious relationship with these people. Now, can you tell us, Attorney Morales, how you can balance these 2 seemingly conflicting functions? How can you preserve your independence and at the same time maintain a cordial relationship with the officials of the other 2 branches of government?
The 2 justices are not mutually inconsistent. Independence, a judge is independent if he's able to decide the case purely on the basis of the merits
Yes.
and swayed by any partisan interest, not influenced by family, social, or other relationship. That is independence as defined in the Code of Judicial Conduct.
Then,
Interacting with the executive or legislative officials does not necessarily detract from the independence of the Chief Justice. In fact, that is supposed to be encouraged because the judiciary is not supposed to be staying in the ivory tower.
so your idea of a Chief Justice is not to stay in the ivory tower all the time, but he has to go out.
Yes, ma'am. Precisely, the Judicial, Executive, Legislative, Advisory, Consultative Council was created
Gila.
precisely for that purpose, for the interaction between and among the heads of the different branches of government.
So you believe in the benefits derived from activating this GELAC?
Absolutely.
Okay. On that note, Mr. Chair, I have no more question for Attorney Morales. Thank you, Attorney Morales.
Justice Hermosissima.
Good morning, Attorney Morales.
Good morning.
Any relation to the Ombudsman?
No relation.
No relation at all. I was hoping you'd say yes. Well, the tremendous inherent power in the hands of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court require that those appointed to the position should possess